What's going on, everybody? It is Bogo Sports here, and I'm coming to you with an MLB video. I know it may not seem like I'm a baseball fan because I never post about it, and that's something I'm going to work on. It's something I've found is that it's a little bit more difficult for me to post and create baseball content, especially during the regular season. It would have to be something where I'm committed to making constant storylines, discussing what's happening week to week. I'm going to figure it out because baseball really is on the same level for basketball and football for me as far as interest. So I want to convey that to you guys, share my takes. But now the postseason's starting, so this is a perfect time. I'm going to make my MLB playoff predictions in this video. I think you should be able to see two screens right now. You're seeing me. You might see another screen, but regardless, we're going to jump over to the playoff bracket. We're going to fill this out together. So let's get this started without further ado. So let me go switch over here. Okay, so you should be able to see the MLB.com playoff bracket. And unfortunately, I clicked around and you're not able to just clear your bracket completely, as far as I could tell. So the first round matchups that I predicted to win are spoiled. So let's just get right into it. First matchup is the Rays versus the Rangers. This is a very interesting matchup and one I kind of went back and forth with, but I ultimately landed on the Rays because I think their experience is going to prevail and their pitching and great bullpen is going to be a big factor in the series. The Rangers rotation is solid, but John Gray's injured. Obviously, no DeGrom or Scherzer. Their bullpen is slightly subpar, in my opinion. And all that being said, they do have a lethal lineup, the Rangers I'm speaking about. But I think that the Rays experience, even though they're missing some guys from their lineup is still good overall. And I think the rotation and bullpen are going to carry them through in this series. But I really went back and forth on it because the Rangers lineup is that good. Second series, Twins versus Blue Jays. I think the Twins, there's an argument you could make that they have the best rotation or the best pitching staff overall in the playoffs. I mean, they're really loaded with Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray, Joe Ryan. Continuing forward even into the bullpen with Yohan Duran and others that really make you say, hey, they have one of the best pitching staffs, hands down. But their lineup is not good right now, especially with the loss of some of their star guys who maybe not weren't performing the best, like Gallo and Correa. But they're missing Buxton as well. Royce Lewis, who was playing well. They are just gutted as far as star, big name players in their lineup go. And their lineup on paper just doesn't look very threatening at all. So for that reason, I think the Blue Jays, who have a good lineup, they have a very solid. I don't know if there's a camera on me right now. Sorry. So I could just be looking down at the bracket on my screen. But the Blue Jays, who have a very dangerous lineup. If they get hot, they could be very problematic for many teams. And then pitching staff wise, they have a solid bullpen, but they have a really good starting rotation. A lot of guys with ERAs in the threes, low fours, and very veteran pitchers who have been at least in the postseason before. So for that reason, I'm going to take the Blue Jays in this series. Twins are going to fail to win a playoff series, even though they're at home here. Okay, going to the NL. Phillies Marlins. This is the easiest series for me to pick. I believe that the Phillies are going to probably sweep the Marlins very easily. They're going to be at home. As you'll see, I'm very high on the Phillies. I think even though some of their starters didn't have the best seasons, like Nola didn't have a great season. Suarez, I think, was hurt at the beginning, and he wasn't amazing. They had a couple guys in the fours, but we saw how lethal and spectacular their rotation can be. So if their rotation's on point, you'll see I have them doing well this postseason. Marlins, they're missing Sandy Alcantara and Yuri Perez, and I think that's what's going to kill them. Their pitching was a very big factor in why they did well this year, but they really kind of just snuck into the playoffs by the Reds not playing great at the end of the year. Cubs kind of collapsed, in my opinion, and the Marlins were able to sneak in. Their lineup is just not that great, and that's something that is really without their star pitchers and then not a great lineup, not a super dangerous lineup. You got Soler for the power, and Arias hit over 350. But outside of those two guys, there's nobody that really scares me in the lineup. And Gene Segura is hurt, I believe. I could be off on that, but I'm pretty sure he's hurt. So for that reason, I don't think this is going to be a very close series at all. I think the Phillies are going to take care of them pretty easy. Okay, the last wildcard series, Brewers versus D-backs. If you guys don't know by now, I'm a D-backs fan, so this pick is a little bit biased, but with Brandon Woodruff being out, I think the D-backs have a very solid chance. If we can win game one we are going to win the series because then we have Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly going, and we only have to win one of those two games. The Brewers lineup, I will admit, is more underrated, and it's better than it has been in years past. But the strength of the Brewers, as we all know, is they have a great manager in Craig Counsell, but it's their pitching. They have a very good rotation, and they're still going to have Burns and Peralta at the top of the rotation, and their bullpen is spectacular, rounded out by Devin Williams at the end of the bullpen. So it's going to be tough because the D-backs, we are very scrappy offensively, and we just figure out how to string things together, though the lineup can be hit or miss. Pitching-wise, like I said, Gallen and Kelly, those two are just awesome pitchers, but we have, I would say, by far the worst bullpen in the playoffs, and it's not even close. We might have one of the worst bullpens in the league. And eventually that's going to let us down, in my opinion, but I'm going to give us the win just because I want to go to a playoff game this year, and that means we'd have to get through the series since all the games are going to be played in Milwaukee. So it's more of a vibes pick, but how could I pick against my own team? Okay, moving on to the divisional round. We'll go like that. Round 2. Orioles versus the Rays. This was a tough one. I am going to go with the Rays in this matchup. The Orioles have their lineup's been great. They have a really good lineup. Pitching, solid, starting pitching, but very inexperienced. And then bullpen-wise, they do have a very good bullpen, but they just lost their workhorse in the bullpen, Felix Bautista. He's out for the year. So I think the Rays experience, like I said with the Rangers series, I think the Rays experience is just going to carry them through here, and they're going to get it done. And the Orioles are the 1 seed, Rays are the 4 seed, but there's only 2 games separating them. So the Rays were right there, almost going to take over the Orioles. Orioles had a great season, and they're a young team, and they're going to be good for a while, I think. But it's hard for me to pick against the Rays. It really is. Astros, Blue Jays. I'm going to go with the Astros here. Lineup-wise, I think they're very similar. Pitching, I just can't bet against the Astros pitching in the playoffs. You got guys like Framber Valdez, Christian Javier, Justin Verlander. Those 3 right there, that's more than enough to take care of the Blue Jays. Good bullpen. They won last year, so they clearly have the experience. They got Dusty Baker, great manager. I don't want to write off the Blue Jays because they could make stuff happen in the postseason, but me personally, I don't see a scenario where the Astros get bounced in the second round. So I'm going to pick the Astros there. Braves, Phillies. This is a tough one because I really think the winner of this series is going to represent the NL in the World Series. And I flipped back and forth. I'm going to go with the Phillies again, who beat the Braves last year. I first of all didn't want to have 1 and 2. Well, I guess I had the Rays, but I didn't want to have 1, 2 in the NL. I just felt like there's no way it's going to be Braves, Dodgers, just work out perfectly like that. But the Phillies, the Braves have a great crowd. Well, so do the Phillies. The Braves have a great lineup. Well, so do the Phillies, especially if the Phillies lineup gets hot. And we saw that last year. The biggest differentiator here is the Phillies pitching rotation is healthy. The Braves have 2 starters right now, Spencer Strider and a rookie, Bryce Elder. Both guys have looked great this year, but I'm not pushing all my chips in on Bryce Elder in a postseason start against a lineup that got to the World Series last year. It's just very up in the air for the Braves right now, and for that reason, I'm going with the Phillies for a second straight year upsetting the Braves. The Braves have the most elite lineup I've seen in a long time, and it feels wrong to pick against them here, but I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to pick the Phillies. D-backs, Dodgers, there's not much to say here. The D-backs are not going to be the Dodgers. They own us, truly. So we got the championship series set up. In the American League, Rays versus Astros. I'm picking the Astros. I think pitching-wise, very, very similar. The rotations, as far as depth and confidence in the starters, Glasnow for the Rays, and I'm blanking on the other guy that they have as their great starter. McClanahan's hurt right now, but I'm blanking. But you got Glasnow starting for the Rays as kind of their ace, and Verlander, and then Valdez, and the other guy on the Rays who I'm completely blanking on right now, and it's really annoying me. But regardless, we're going to keep it moving. I just think that, and the bullpens match up pretty close as well. I think the lineup for the Astros is far better, and they're going to have home field in this matchup. I got to go with the Astros. So they make the World Series again. Phillies, Dodgers. Dodgers have a great lineup, but their pitching, like the Braves, is very, very injured, and they always do a good job surviving through the regular season because they have minor league depth. But it comes back to hurt them in the postseason. Their bullpen is average. It's good bullpen, but they only have Kershaw and Bobby Miller as their guys that are really in the rotation all year, healthy right now. And then other than that, it's going to be piecing together the starting rotation in the postseason. And I think that's going to get them into some trouble, as it always does. So great lineup, but I'm going to go with the Phillies. I just think all the Phillies have to do is steal one. Similarly in the Braves series, if the Phillies steal one against Strider or Elder, now they're going home, at least split. Could be up 2-0, but just say split. And now you have, who are they going to bring out? Who are they going to roll out? Unless one of their starters comes back, which I'm not aware of. If Freed would come back or Morton, I'm not sure if they're going to be back by the divisional series, but for all those reasons, I think the same applies for the Dodgers. If they steal one off of the rookie Bobby Miller or Kershaw, who's had his troubles in the postseason that have been heavily documented throughout his career, then now they're going home, stealing a game with a more solidified, healthy rotation. So for that reason, I have to go with the Phillies. And we have a World Series rematch. And I'm going to go with the Astros again. It's really hard for me to pick against some of these teams that have been doing it for the past 5, 6 seasons. Astros are right up there with the Dodgers, and then they've won at a higher clip than the Dodgers in the postseason. So it's hard for me to pick against them. Until I see something otherwise, I got to go with the Astros. And it would be pretty interesting if there was back-to-back seasons with a World Series rematch. I guess that's redundant. If there was a World Series rematch this season and the Astros got on top, I'm sure not many people will be happy with this outcome if this is what happens, but I do think the Astros are going to face the Phillies in the World Series and get it done. It's really a toss-up, though. Anything can happen. There are definitely some intriguing matchups. I think the Rays and Rangers is probably my most the wild card matchup I'm most interested in outside of the D-backs, just because they're my own team. But on the merit of just a simple roster versus roster matchup, I think Rays versus Rangers is going to be the most interesting and the biggest coin flip, because that Rangers lineup, if they get hot 2 games, say goodbye to your season, they're going to run you over. So it's going to be a good postseason. I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully the D-backs can win a series. But regardless, I'm happy that they're just there. So there you go. Those are my picks. Let me go back to the studio and try to go full screen, or I don't even know how to do this. But, we'll stop sharing. There we go. So hopefully that worked out. I've never tried that before, but I think you guys should be able to see what I was looking at. So let me know you guys' playoff predictions below. Who's winning the NL? Who's winning the AL? Who's winning the World Series? And like I said, more baseball content to come. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Other than that, I'm out. Peace.